map and a big trip. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Well, I've always had a big interest in like maps and geography in general. So when I was little, I think we just started planning like a trip all the way across the country. And this blue line here is the one that we originally drew as just like an outline. And we kept like researching where we were gonna stay and stuff. And that took like a couple years. And then the red line is the line that we eventually ended up choosing. And we went on that trip in 2012, I think.
Yeah, 4 years ago.
Yep.
So actually, this is an anniversary of the time we were around the beginning of the trip 4 years ago.
So when you were researching for the couple of years before you went, how did you do that? Did you go on the web? Did you look at books?
Well, you were pretty involved looking at the maps, but mainly it's plotted around places we were going to stay, and that was a combination of reunions with people we hadn't seen for a long time, some distant relatives, and then some national parks that I'd always wanted to go to, Olympia National Park being one of them. And then we supplemented those points with camping and some Airbnb stops along the way.
So what was the difference? What made the difference between the line that you thought you were going to drive along and the line that you actually drove along?
Well, we originally wanted to go like all the way up into Canada around like Lake Superior and stuff, but then we decided that would be it would take too much time, and also we wanted to go to other places like Toronto and Madison, Wisconsin instead. So I think that was just later on we wanted to go to different places instead.
We were racing the clock to make sure we got them back in time for the start of school.
Yeah, that
So
too.
it was a 32-day trip.
So this was a 32-day trip. How did you spend the time in the car, Luke?
Well, I didn't really have a lot of stuff to occupy me. I just looked out the window and I studied the atlas that we had in the car a lot to kind of look at the places that we were about to be and like explore around there on the map. That was always pretty fun for me.
Yeah, he was the key navigator, for sure.
Now, do you have to share the car with other people or your dog or anything?
My little brother.
How did that go? How did you get along with him? Was there ever any discussion about where somebody was going to sit, or whether they were going to like to sit next to you?
Not really. We had like a pretty big car and there were only 3 of us, so we just got the back seat and then the passenger seat was filled with stuff, and then there was enough room that we didn't really get into a lot of arguments along the way.
Are there special things that you always pack for a trip?
Well, at the time of the trip, I always had this hat that I wore around, and I wore that like every single place that we went to. And yeah, there's a few pictures of it in there.
It just appeared on him one day. He just had a black beret all of a sudden. So that was on him for most of the trip, and his little brother called him Picasso.
Very nice. Now, what were your favorite places?
I think my favorite cities that we stopped at were probably Minneapolis and Seattle. Minneapolis was cool because they had all the like bridges between all the buildings, because in the winter it gets really cold there. And we were there in the summer, so it was mostly empty, but we were still able to like go from one end of the city to the other all indoors in like the air condition. And that was super cool. And in Seattle there were just like a lot of cool places. There's a Pike Street Market, I think, and they had a bunch of people selling stuff. We got bagels and stuff, and we sat in the park outside the library, which is like this really cool building.
Yeah, you told me about the library.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it had some outdoor sculpture, some blue statues.
It is like super cool architecture. It's like, I think I saw a whole documentary piece about it.
Now, did that trip did that impact like where you want to go to college, or what you want to be as when you grow up as a profession, or was there anything that really impressed you along the way? Or is there an area of the country that you'd like to move to because you saw it on the trip?
Well, I really like California in general, but I don't know if I would live there as a place. I kind of, it was cool seeing the whole country, and well, the whole northern half, but I think I still like New Haven the best out of all the places that I went to as a place to live. Maybe like Seattle or somewhere on the West Coast, but
After we got through Silicon Valley, I think was when Henry came up with the idea for his startup.
oh yeah, he came up with the idea for a company that he was gonna start when he grew up.
And is it going to be Google or?
Yeah, he was making some pretty big plans, and he made it sound like it was about to be Google, but he hasn't talked about it in a while, so I don't know.
Lamatech.
Yeah, that was the name.
That's great. So that really made him think about something he'd like to do because he saw it there at Silicon Valley. That's pretty exciting. And what were as the parent doing all the driving, I would expect, what were your impressions on the trip?
Measuring out where we hoped to get each day and balancing the car time with the actual activities time was important. This was a real completion for me because 20 years ago I went across country with their dad, the southern route, and the car broke down in California, so we were going to come back the northern route and never had a chance. We just ended up taking the Amtrak train back. So to get to see all these northern places was a long time coming, and to be able to do that with the kids was really terrific. My mom's high school friend is a cartoonist in Galiano Island off of Victoria in British
yeah,
Columbia
yeah.
up there.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we got to take a ferry out there and see her. And my grandfather's best friends live in Montana, and so my grandfather's passed away, but it meant a lot to them to meet the boys and to reconnect with me. So I think, that was a really important part of the trip, was finding these people that had kind of gotten far flung, and being able to stitch our story in with theirs a little bit that summer.
So look, what would you say the contrast is between when you take a road trip versus when you fly somewhere?
Well, when you take a road trip, you get to see everything from point A to point B, but when you're on an airplane, you just kind of fly over and skip everything in between where you are and where you want to go. So the road trip is more of like, kind of like a process of getting there. You got to figure out like where you're going to stop for food, and you got to figure out, what roads you're going to take. But with an airplane, it's just you get on and then you're there where you want to be. But it's not like that.
Not so much individual choice or the kind of ability to get off the main road and stop anywhere you'd like to.
Yeah.
Is there any of these great pictures from your book you particularly want to show us?
I don't know.
This was from when we were looking for Bigfoot.
Oh yeah.
Did you find him?
No.
No.
My little brother was really interested in all
It
that.
got kind of eerie though, right around dusk you thought, oh boy, we might even see him. This was that library that you had
Oh, yeah.
researched in Seattle. Some of the local food, I don't think we would have probably known too much about cheese curds if we weren't driving.
I don't think we even had
Huckleberries.
Oh, yeah.
It was we went to a huckleberry festival in Montana, remember?
Mhm.
And no, we didn't try the cheese curds, but we did see them when we were at the A&W place in Montana. You were really fascinated by the graffiti in San Francisco.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
And we hiked in to this campsite at night,
Oh yeah. right.
3/4 of a mile
Yeah.
in. We had to bring all of our stuff. It was a city park in the Marin Headlands outside of San Francisco.
That's pretty exciting.
It was really exciting in the morning when I saw how much coyote poop was all around our tent. So. And you got lost in Yosemite.
Oh yeah. Well,
You think I got lost?
yeah, you got lost.
Oh.
Seems to be a little difference of opinion. You got lost here.
Well, so I was standing looking at a map, and my mom and my little brother, while I was there, they wandered off the wrong trail. So I was like, oh, they must have just went on without me. So I went down the right trail. but they were on the wrong one, so I kept going down the trail and I never saw them. And I just decided to go back and wait by the car. So they were kind of freaked out, and I think they like called all the Yosemite Park rangers and stuff. And then this guy in a big truck rolled up and he was like, "Hey, your mom's looking for you." So I got in the truck and she came back. I don't know.
So he ended up having to get in a truck with a stranger to get reunited with me, but
Luckily, Luke, you knew where the car was. That was good.
Yeah. Well, we weren't too far. It was like a touristy parking lot place.
they told me it happened about 30 or 40 times a day.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, that was the year. I was glad we didn't end up camping in Yosemite. That was the year that the hantavirus was rampant in the campgrounds from the mice.
Would you be able to, willing to leave your map in your book in case we have an opportunity to use it in the exhibit, or did you want to take it home again?
Oh, no, you can.